The goal is to design the collaboration so precisely that healthcare professional will never feel where commercial ends and medical begin.
In pharma, we invested in a lot of operational capabilities, marketing orchestration, AI, among others, and we underutilized them.
What is exactly not working? I know this is an uncomfortable question, but we have everything to make it work.
If there are 20 silos, it might be just 2 or 3 that really matter that have to be on each other's dashboards. And where I've seen success is when people prioritize and they don't try to boil the ocean.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Pharma Talks. Here's our podcast where we have honest, practical conversations with people who are genuinely reshaping how pharma companies, how pharma industry operates. I'm Nataliya Andreychuk, CEO of B7, your usual host, and today I have an amazing guest in our improvised studio. You can see a lot of sunshine. It means we are opening the summer season talks, and this is a vacational mood, but still we have a very hot topics to discuss. Please meet Elaine Gamble in our studio. She is not only the omnichannel expert, the marketing executive, consultant, board advisor, senior marketing and omnichannel experience leader, was working with a number of pharmaceutical companies, including Merck, Novartis, Otsuka, and the others. She is really the one who can tell us openly today what will happen when commercial and medical will stop fighting over the customer and start building together. Elaine, welcome to our studio, and please tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm delighted to be here. And again, thank you so much for the invitation. I'm an experienced customer engagement leader. I cover the whole spectrum from strategy to execution, technology, as well as data and analytics, and of course, AI, which is a lot of our industry focus right now. But what I really enjoy doing and where I flourish is translating a brand's objective into an omnichannel experience that brings that to life in timed and contextual ways. And that does mean a solid collaboration between commercial and medical. And while traditionally that has been a challenge, our customer is mandating that we overcome those challenges. And through tangible process, as well as the right intent and leadership supported by culture, we definitely can achieve the collaboration that will best serve the customer.
That's an amazing opening, Elaine. So, and in 2026, it's obvious for us that, we are in pharma working, we as vendors, you are from inside, working with everything like on our fingertips, AI, data, customer experience. We seems to know everything. We have everything. But what does actually mean today for the commercial and medical so that they are sometimes are not working together? What is exactly not working? I know this is an uncomfortable question, but we have everything to make it work. But to your opinion, what exactly is not?
There's often a misperception around different interests, when in fact, those are shared interests. We just have to realize that by more collaboration, listening to one another, and having the right initiatives to partner on. So you have one team, and they're often in silos, and then another team, and the relationship is very transactional. I need you to sign off on this so I can get to the next step. I need this to go through MedLegal, so make sure everything's fine, and then I'm going to move on. And that, especially in this era of trust with the HCP, especially when they're saying, come to me as one, you're competing with one another. So what's not working is the siloed relationship that exists. And to overcome that, defining in process, but also actual work and initiatives where you have to work together. Through that, deliver more for your customers.
That's the very good, goal, to deliver more to your customers, to get together, together in the strategy and the execution. But when we go in being a little bit more specific, right? So commercial and medical collaboration is one of the phrases which we are repeating very often, because today, to be relevant for the healthcare professionals and for the patients, we actually need to make sure that every commercial message having a real evidence underneath. So based on the real facts and really delivering this value we are talking about. If we are taking into perspective people, process, incentives, or leadership, what is your take? What is not exactly, working well?
Mm-hmm. I think there are challenges in all of those areas, but I think the most important ones to me are not incentive. Like, this is, what you're going to get if you work together, because it's forced. It doesn't come about naturally. And it doesn't come around that shared vision that I talked about earlier. I would say what's not connecting is often people working in silos. Medical is very protective of the science and the purity of that. And sometimes a perception that when it gets to the commercial team, they're going to take that away from me. Then there's process. As I referred to earlier, processes are siloed and the interaction is often transactional. I need you to do these 5 things so that I can get to this next step as a commercial team, rather than sitting down together, having readouts together around the customer engagement, having readouts around what is resonating, the customer experience, which we can get into more, and real world journeys where they have to sit down together and see what is primarily a medical engagement, what is primarily commercial owned, and then where's the overlap such that we work together. Then I would say it's leadership as well, and that it's a culture that fosters and values working together as opposed to being siloed. That top-down support, not mandating it, but fostering an environment where to work together more naturally and organically, but through that enhance your effectiveness beyond being transactional.
Please, yes, give us the example. This is what I wanted to ask from your own experience, just the example of this collaboration.
Absolutely. So an example might be in some organizations, the MSO relationship, it's non-branded or quote non-commercial, but it can be in supporting the field, very promotional as well if it's supporting field and local opinion leaders. So having a self-contained experience for those individuals that were engaged by an MSL. So once they come in to that experience, following them over time, it's an MSL-owned relationship, but it's a partnership with commercial. So that could be local opinion leader programs where you don't stop and say, okay, you walked out. The MSL relationship continues over time. We're tracking their behaviors, their scientific interests. The commercial team is collaborating with you on operationalizing that. What should be a support message that opens the door for the MSL scientific engagement versus what should be pure science that then broadens into access and support? But that holistic view in a self-contained MSL community where you're following up with touch points over time, predicting next best MSL engagement, predicting lapsed interest in the science, therefore predicting what should be next in your scientific discussions, supports commercial, but it's MSL driven. And that data is in a defined universe that is managed just for that purpose. Another example, related example, is the MSL engagement driven by the operational and orchestration capabilities, the beauty of those. And I alluded to that earlier. So after you engage the physician, what is the next best MSL engagement? Is it telling them about access? Is it telling them about a new win that you receive, patient support resources that have to open the door for more science? Is it partnering with commercials so that you know when to deliver the right scientific message? Because doctors now are overwhelmed, even with MSL to some degree, and helping your relevance at a pivotal contextual moment is something a commercial team can partner with you on. And then looking at that journey through real world data that the doctor travels through and the patient together, where were those moments where the scientific message and what would be more relevant? And how can we help you leverage that? Working together, it can't be done by one team. You need one another.
It's a beautiful example, especially how these insights owned by MSL can also fix this commercial engagement. And I would also love to get this bridge to the other side, like this. I know that this multi-channel communications, so that MSLs are also using this strategy and tactics usually we use in the commercial world when we activate the different channels of communication, not only the face-to-face meetings to deliver the message in the right format and the right time to the right healthcare professional. So that means this is this fixing of this coordination between two. But going to talk about this fix, so we started to opening these insights, how the MSL insights are helping commercial and vice versa. Can you please give us a little bit more information how those insights can really fix the engagement? So if we can really see more of physician, so because we have some particular information from collaboration with the MSL, so is this possible that we can really have more meaningful and relevant conversation as the commercial team?
Absolutely. And again, it's always anchored in your marketing vision as to what you want to accomplish. And then what parts of those MSL engagements the most strongly contribute to that marketing vision. In pharma, we invested in a lot of operational capabilities, marketing orchestration, AI, among others, and we underutilized them. And a great example where that could change is when we have those MSL interactions, they're fed into those orchestration capabilities. And then through that, leveraging technology, leveraging AI, the most likely engagements to influence continued engagement or field force calls and quality are then fed into that engine and seamlessly shared with the field to enhance their calls, to build on the MSL engagement compliantly, because some things have to be separate. But there's a seamless process of every engagement being fed back into a common unified platform. But then what I will say, the pearls of that engagement of the MSL are then fed to other teams, such as field sales, so that they can then build on that. I understand you talked to the MSL and these were areas of interest. Do you have any additional questions? Should I invite them back? Here are 3 patient resources that bring to life what you talk to your MSL with. We have the capabilities, but we often underutilize them. And we have a wonderful opportunity through those capabilities to enhance collaboration between those two teams.
It's just on the, top of my head, and I need to ask that. So very often, medical and commercial are even using the different, technology to engage. So is this the obstacle that they are, living in parallel universe technology-wise? They don't have the same, storage for their contents. They don't have even the same place in the CRM. So is this technology can be also the blocker for this relationship we're talking about? What do you think?
Yes, because it does contribute to data silos. And it should be simple, but it often isn't. So in answer to your question, yes, this technology is often bought in silos and used in silos. So there are a couple of ways to address that. First, to say, we're going to have the master data integration plan. Again, that's aggressive. It takes time, and we want to be nimble and agile. So a quick way to leverage what you have and then use that as a foundation, what the MSL is already using, what that data resource is, expand what they are currently using. Have a self-contained community within that. So the MSL engagements go into the technology they are using, the orchestration platform, and then that is used for next best MSL engagement. Predicting this doctor will lapse in their interest in MSL engagement. Your next scientific study should be this. And here's what you might want to say, leveraging AI within their platform. And then in parallel path, look for ways to integrate with the other platforms via Viva, via Actana, via Visvin, and others. In other words, don't wait to be perfect and ready with that self-contained community and what they're currently using. It's not perfect, but hold up a success there. Then in parallel, look for ways to integrate with other resources within the organization. I have seen that be very effective. The MSL teams are very excited about innovation and next best engagement and contextual engagement. So expand what they're currently doing. Also, integrating data is easier now than it was even a year ago. It's not a massive 5 years. You can take some steps forward even within 30 days or so.
It's very important. So the message is do not wait. So the technology is actually on your side. Today, more things are potentially possible. So building on that, customer experience today is such a hype and such a big topic because the expectations from healthcare professional changed, right? Now with AI and with all the information, because we have democratized the information on the unbelievable level with AI, right? So, and this is everything about how they expect now the message to be delivered, how the meeting will be conducted. So there's a lot of expectation, and sometimes it's very difficult to say, but sometimes MSL and sales rep even do not look like the representatives from the same organization. This is happening, right? So, and this is what I want to address as the next critical item, how to make this change happen, how to build it, that these people do not only collaborate together, but their messaging is synchronized. It could be through the plan, but how to build that? Is pharma really working into that direction? That the commercial and medical, they are united, even in the customer-facing level?
Yes. To make them united, it can't just be a racy chart, and here are roles and you have to work together. You have to have a real, I don't want to say project, a real initiative that puts it into action. So there are a couple of ways to do that. First, in a purely task level, that data source where all that MSL engagement is going. And you remember you're giving them a self-contained community as your starting point on the road to integrating, but you're also picking the pearls from that and feeding that to the field. Maybe not all the data, but of their data, it might be only 1 or 2 touch points that matter the most. You're feeding that so that people get a taste of that integration, and then they can go in and use that and put that in action. Not integrating everything, but just a couple of pearls. Second, having an agile pod approach, I call it, where you're collaborating around the real world journey of the doctor. So from the time they got a patient until the patient went on therapy, then switched, then came back, etc. That is jointly governed by the MSL team, the field, and commercial marketing. So when you're looking at an objective journey and there are real world data that you can overlay to actually look at that for your products and compare it to your competition, where did we leverage opportunity together? Where did we miss opportunity? Where does my message have more relevance? Where does your commercial one that isn't MSL have more relevance? And then where do we overlap? But it's an objective journey that you're both governing and managing. That's the job. And through that, seeing whose approach belongs where and when, you're working together to give that doctor the best experience as to when everyone's role should come to life on that journey. So it's kind of like, and a lot of partners have this information available to you, but you're co-managing it together as opposed to I'm in my silo and you're in yours. Here is that journey. That was a missed opportunity. I should have been in front of them with that scientific data just before that patient visit. How do we change that? And it's a governance team. You're meeting biweekly or monthly and reporting out based on that.